The first RPG missed the ship's bridge by just 3 meters. Sparks flew. Screams echoed on deck. The Maersk Hangzhou, a civilian freighter under U.S. Navy escort, was under attack. 4 Houthi fast attack boats loaded with thermobaric warheads and machine guns were closing fast, just 600 meters away, and tightening the kill zone. They weren't here to intimidate. They came to take the ship. The onboard security team was outgunned. Their rifles couldn't match the swarm's firepower. Radio calls for help had already gone out. But salvation was inbound fast. 2 U.S. Navy MH-60R Seahawks, flying low and armed to the teeth, had just received clearance to engage. What happened next would send a message from the Red Sea all the way to Tehran. If you still believe air power is the ultimate equalizer, subscribe, stay alert, and witness how sea battles are won before boots ever hit the deck. The attack wasn't random. It was timed, calculated. A textbook asymmetric strike. 4 Iranian-supplied Boghammer fast boats screamed across the Red Sea at over 50 knots, weaving tight, combat-loaded and heavily armed. Their target? The Maersk Hangzhou, an unarmed, Singapore-flagged container ship under American escort, steaming southwest off the coast of Yemen. A vulnerable asset in one of the world's most contested waters. Each boat carried a 3-man Houthi strike team, PKMs mounted forward, Alaskas slung, and RPGs locked. 2 gunners were shouldering thermobaric Taba 14-second rockets capable of piercing 300 mm of steel. The Hangzhou's hull? Just 25 mm thick. 1 good shot to the bridge, and the ship would go blind. And they were connected. Starlink terminals mounted on deck fed real-time imagery to command nodes near Al Hudaydah, with drone surveillance and coastal spotters painting the target from afar. This wasn't a ragtag militia op. It was a digital wolfpack move, ripped straight from Iranian doctrine. By the time the Houthi boats came within 1,800 meters, the Hangzhou's private security detail contractors from Trident Group opened fire. From hardened mounts along the stern and port rails, M240B machine guns barked back. Brass poured. 1 boat took damage, listing slightly, but it wasn't enough. The others surged forward undeterred. At just 600 meters, the range for RPGs, 1 warhead streaked across the water, missing the superstructure by just 10 feet. 1 direct hit, and the ship would have lost navigation, propulsion, or worse, become a drifting hostage in enemy hands. Time was bleeding out. Then came the roar. Over the horizon, 2 Shadows Lancer 71 and 72, MH-60R Seahawks launched from the USS Eisenhower and USS Gravely, punched in at 160 knots. 8 minutes out. That was too long. The crews aboard knew it, so they pushed harder. At 6:39, they crested the fight zone 1 mile out. No more waiting. Target lock was imminent. Engagement was seconds away. The Houthis had no idea what was coming for them. The Seahawks didn't just arrive. They arrived prepared, mounted beneath the nose of each aircraft. The AN/APS-153V radar swept the surface with a precision honed over years of counter-smuggling ops and maritime intercepts. This wasn't a standard scan. The system had already picked up dozens of radar contacts amid the chaotic clutter of the southern Red Sea, small wave crests, drifting debris, even seabirds. But hidden within that noise were 4 fast-moving anomalies closing fast, tight formation, erratic but intentional. That was enough. The pilot shifted to narrow pulse mode, sending bursts of radar energy every 0.5 to 1 microsecond. The goal? Clarity, velocity, identity. The Boghammers, rigged for war, gave themselves away. The radar toggled into moving target indicator, MTI mode. Doppler shifts, like the rising and falling of a motorcycle engine screaming past, revealed the motion, metallic density, and shape of the boats. Within seconds, the MTI confirmed what the pilots suspected. These were not fishing skiffs. From there, the system kicked into inverse synthetic aperture radar, ISAR, rendering near photo-quality imagery of the targets. Hull angles, turret mounts, even body posture on deck. The Seahawks now had eyes on, not just blips. The targets were locked, and time was gone. The 2 Romeos flying low now, just 150 feet above the water, armed their JAU 21.50 caliber machine guns, 1 on each side. Each gun could fire 1,100 rounds per minute, with a lethal range of 1,850 meters. Armor-piercing, incendiary, and tracer rounds. a cocktail built to cut through fiberglass, steel, flesh, and resolve. But it was the Houthis who fired first. 6:40 a.m. tracer fire from PKMs tore through the sky-red lines, stitched toward the helicopters, passing within 15 meters of the fuselage. The Seahawks banked hard. The moment was theirs, and they took it. Lancer 71 was the first to strike. Banking left, the gunner locked onto Boat 1, the lead attacker closest to the freighter's stern. A controlled 3-round burst of .50 caliber fire tore across the water, slamming into the engine block. The second burst found the fuel cell. In less than 5 seconds, the bog hammer erupted into flame, a bloom of fire and black smoke curling skyward. The boat sank beneath the waves in under a minute. One threat, erased. Without pause, Lancer 71 rotated to port and acquired Boat 2. The rudder was the first target. A short burst shredded the mechanism, sending the boat into a chaotic spin. The gunner didn't wait. He opened up with a full 3-second stream, walking rounds from bow to stern, metal fractured, screams lost to rotor wash. The second boat capsized and vanished by 6:42 a.m. Now it was a turkey shoot. Lancer 72, circling wide, joined in on Boat 3, pinning it in a deadly crossfire. Both Seahawks zeroed in simultaneously, raining dozens of armor-piercing rounds into the hull below the waterline. The boat buckled, its crew trying desperately to bail with buckets futile. It slipped under the surface at 6:44 a.m., leaving only oil slick and bubbles behind. Boat 4, the last survivor, never stood a chance. It didn't fight. It fled. Smoke trailing from minor impacts, it turned hard northwest, leaving its fallen behind. The Seahawks pursued briefly, peppering the retreating boat with warning fire. But protocol was clear. The freighter came first. Lancer 71 broke off the chase and repositioned above the Maersk Hangzhou. In just under 7 minutes, the aerial onslaught had sunk 3 attack boats, fired nearly 1,800 rounds, and turned a coordinated ambush into a humiliating rout. But this was only the beginning. The Red Sea had gone quiet. Smoke curled from the sea's surface, and the crew of the Maersk Hangzhou could finally breathe. But back aboard the USS Gravely, the calm didn't last. Because Washington had made a decision. Sinking boats wasn't enough. At 14:30 local time, 8 hours after the Seahawks had returned to deck, the USS Gravely turned toward the Yemeni coast. Its 5-inch Mark 45 Mod 4 naval gun swiveled east. Target coordinates had been uploaded. The targets? 3 coastal radar installations the Houthis had used to track coalition shipping for weeks: Jabal al-Tar, Al-Mocha, and Ras Isa. Each radar site had been transmitting real-time targeting data to Houthi command guiding boat swarms, relaying drone imagery, and giving asymmetric forces a digital edge. The Gravely had one goal: wipe that network off the map. At 14:37, the first shot roared across the water. A 70-pound high-explosive round punched through the air at 2,600 feet per second, slamming into a hillside array above Jabal al-Tar. Detonation. Collapse. Then came the second shot. Then the third. In total, 92 shells were fired, high-explosive, airburst, and fragmentation munitions. Each round was a message in steel. You may strike once, but we control what happens next. The Gravely didn't hide. It steamed up and down the Yemeni coastline with impunity, pounding radar installations from beyond retaliatory range. The Houthi command nodes, those same ones using Starlink and drones just hours earlier, went dark. By nightfall, 3 radar facilities lay in ruins. According to post-strike drone footage, Houthi maritime surveillance capability had been cut by 60%. Coalition ships would sail with one less shadow on their tails. But even that wasn't enough, because while the Houthis had failed to hijack the Hangzhou, they had still launched an organized, multinational-style assault on commercial shipping under U.S. protection. That called for something bigger. As the last embers cooled on the coast, another phase of retaliation took flight. At 18:10 local time, 4F A-18E Super Hornets from Strike Fighter Squadron VFA 131 aboard the USS Eisenhower roared off the flight deck, each armed with a pair of AGM-154C Joint Standoff Weapons, JSOW-C. These weren't typical bombs. Each JSOW-C carried a 500-pound broach warhead, capable of slicing through 3.7 meters of reinforced concrete before detonating with a delayed charge molten metal jet. These weren't precision strikes, they were strategic amputations. Their target, Al-Darahimi Missile Warehouse, a hardened Houthi facility believed to house anti-ship missiles, drones, and Iranian advisors. The Hornets flew high, then turned shallow and silent as they released the glide munitions from over 20 nautical miles away. At 1843, all 4 weapons impacted simultaneously, 4 distinct eruptions that lit the coastline in synchronized fire. But the explosions were only part of the story. Intercepted Houthi radio chatter revealed the full scope of destruction. 18 drones destroyed. 4 Nor anti-ship cruise missiles vaporized. Multiple missile guidance modules eliminated. 2 Iranian advisors and 12 Houthi technicians confirmed killed on site. It wasn't just a warehouse. It was a brain coordinating, targeting, assembling payloads, feeding the very strike that endangered the Hangzhou. And now it was gone. The message was clear. The United States was no longer playing defense. It wasn't just about protecting ships. It was about disabling the enemy's ability to fight tomorrow's battle. From the sea to the skies, across just 12 hours, the full might of American sea power had been demonstrated not in volume, but in precision, timing, and dominance across every domain. And yet, this wasn't the end. It was a warning. 3 boats sunk. A 4th in full retreat. Coastal radars annihilated. A missile warehouse turned to ash. On paper, it was a clean win. No American lives lost. No damage to U.S. assets. Mission accomplished. But this wasn't just about a ship. It was about the rules of the sea, about reminding the world that freedom of navigation is not a courtesy. It's a guarantee, backed by steel and resolve. When a non-state actor dares to strike under the umbrella of Iranian doctrine, under the surveillance of commercial satellite networks, the response must go beyond immediate defense. It must be enduring, relentless, unmistakable. The United States didn't just retaliate. It rewrote the tempo of deterrence in the Red Sea. And for those watching from Tehran to Moscow, from the Gulf of Aden to the halls of NATO, the message was unmistakable. Strike once, and the skies will answer. Strike twice, and the sea will burn. This engagement may one day be studied not because of the scale of destruction, but because of the shift it represents. From reaction to preemptive pressure, from containment to command presence. But the question lingers. Was this an isolated miscalculation by a proxy force, or the opening gambit in a broader, slower conflict playing out below the surface of global diplomacy? If you believe freedom of navigation isn't just policy but principle, tell us what you think in the comments. How should America respond if these attacks escalate further? Subscribe now and join us in the next chapter, when drones replace fast boats and the battlefield shifts from water to satellite grids.